What's good? It's DJ back again with another goods video. As you can see, we got a little bit of snow this week, but it's all good. Before I get started, if you guys are watching, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. Getting right into it, two things I wanted to cover in this video. Just a basic description of what germinating the seed is, and then showing how I cut up the water bottles from my last video and turn them into little seedling pods. And if you haven't seen that video, check that one out. I'm gonna put a link of it down in the description. So get right into it. Germinating the seed, there's probably a more scientific or technical term for it, but the way I look at it and the way really in layman's terms what it is taking a seed and making it sprout its first root and leaf or leaves. That way you can go ahead and start the photosynthesis process. So there's really only three basic things that you need for the majority of seeds. It changes seed by seed, but for majority seeds, and especially the ones that we're working with now, the only thing you really need is some darkness, moisture, and humidity. And typically what you would do to get that is, plant it in soil, keep the soil moist, or put it in like a little seedling pod or a seed starter. And then after a few days, and that varies seed by seed as well, it'll sprout. And then from there, you will want to put it in sunlight so we can go ahead and start the full photosynthesis process. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Next part, I'm going to just show exactly how to cut the water bottles up, turn them into little seedling pods, and then I'll probably make a more in-depth video about exactly what germination is. So let's go ahead and get into it. So for this part of the video, I'm just going to show exactly how to turn these regular 2 water bottles into these. So these are just 2 seedling pods that I showed in my last video. Planted them a couple weeks ago. Celery right here, planted on February 8th, 2020. As you can see, a couple of them have already started to sprout. About 5 or 6 of them. Then the other plant is the tomatoes that I actually showed last time. Same date. Looks like 2 plants are already started to sprout and grow, looking pretty healthy so far. But this is exactly what I'm going to show how to make in the next part of the video. So let's go ahead and get right back into it. So these are really the only supplies that you're going to need the whole time. 2 water bottles to start off with, plastic. I mean, you can get them from any kind of grocery store, just regular water bottles. Just make sure it's a plastic that's pretty easy to cut through, because that's going to be a real important part of the actual process. Next is some soil. You can have like seed starter, any kind of organic soil, really whatever you want to do, but just something that you can fill up the bottles with. Regular pair of scissors, self-explanatory. Just actually cut the bottles, and then drill. You don't have to use a drill. You can use a nail too, but something with a little pretty small drill bit that can go into the bottom of the bottle. It'll make little drainage holes. That way, whenever you plant something and have the soil in there, it can actually drain the water out. So first thing that we'll actually start with is using the scissors to cut the bottles completely open right at the halfway mark. Just poke the hole right through the bottle and then start cutting around, and then you want to smooth out the edges. And then just do it for both bottles, same spot, just cut it about halfway through. Just make sure it's a pretty even cut as much as possible, but I'll show you guys how to do that once we get back to the next. All right, now that you're done cutting, you really only got 4 pieces left. The 2 bottom parts, cut those about 2 to 3 inches up, and then even out the edges. That way you don't cut yourself. They can get pretty sharp sometimes. Then for the top part, same deal. Cut it in half. Take the tops off. You're not really going to need those at all. And then even out the edges. Same reason, you just don't want to cut yourself. And you want it to be as even as possible once you actually put it on the top part or on the bottom part. And then with that being said, you're done with the top part. You can just put that to the side, wait for later. Next, what you want to do is, put little drainage holes at the bottom of the bottom part that you just cut. Little tiny little holes, probably about 10 to 12 of them. Don't have to be real big, but you just poke it all the way through. Just make sure that the moisture can actually come through the soil. That's what you'll use the drill for. Basically, just put the drill in and out until you put multiple holes in the bottom of both parts. And then I'll come back with it. All right, now that you're done drilling, you should have about 10 to 12 holes in the bottom of both bottles. And they should be tiny, and it's just evenly spread around. Not sure if you can really see them, but they're probably not even half an inch wide. Just big enough so water can fall through. You don't want it to settle at the bottom. It'll create mold and mess up the roots a little bit later. But next, you just want to add the soil into the bottle. Pretty simple, just literally just pour it in. So let's go. All right, so after you do that, you're pretty much done. I got the 2 bottom parts filled with soil, and then the 2 top parts that you cut a little bit earlier. And as you can see, it's some condensation already forming on the inside of the bottle. That's just from the humidity of the soil. But it's really an ideal situation and perfect conditions for a seed to actually germinate. From here, you want to poke a hole into the soil Depending on what kind of seed it is going to depend on how deep you want to poke the hole. But you drop a seed in, cover it with a little bit of soil, then go ahead and put the top part back on. What this will do is create like a greenhouse effect. It'll keep the humidity up. It'll make sure that the moisture stays in the soil, giving it a real good condition so it can actually germinate. Then from there, once it sprouts, take the top part back off. You want to get at least 6 hours of sunlight, so you can still keep it inside or a greenhouse, but about 6 hours is ideal. Then from there, once it gets warm enough outside, you can go ahead and cut the bottle open, or just pull the soil out and then replant it either in a pot or in the garden. So if you follow these steps, it's pretty simple. You can probably go ahead and germinate a seed and start a garden based off of some things that you already have at your house. Before I end this part though, I just want to show you guys this towel that I made right here. It's a little tie-dye towel I made a couple years ago. If you're interested in any kind of tie-dye gear, check out my IG profile. It's goods_NC. That's GUDS_NC. Follow me, baby. Before I ended the video, I just wanted to give y'all a quick update on some of the things that were planted a couple weeks ago that hadn't sprouted on the last video. Most of them have pretty much come up. Those are the tomatoes on the left row, habanero peppers, and then celery, and then 2 rows of strawberries, jalapenos, and then bell peppers. So it looks like that's the only one that hasn't sprouted yet, but taking a closer look, pretty much everything is kind of come up. I'll start thinning them out once they get a little bit stronger and healthier. And then in a few weeks, I'll be able to plant them outside in the full sun. So once it gets a little bit warmer. All right, appreciate y'all tuning in. If you got this far, you might as well go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the little bell notification, and comment if there's any question that you have or if there's anything specific that you want to see in one of my next videos. Like I said earlier, what I'm going to do for my next one is I'll show exactly how to germinate certain seeds and then how to keep the conditions as good as possible. That way, you know, you have a high germination rate. So, all right, y'all, peace.